Brendan, that Dexter cow guy. Welcome to the first episode of my podcast. This definitely was a learning curve for me going in this, so bear with it. I promise to get better as we go. So tune in every week or every other week and enjoy. Hello and welcome to the premiere episode of the That Dexter Cow Guy podcast. My name is Brendan. It is Black Friday 2019. And with me today is my wonderful wife, Cheryl. Say hi.
Hello.
Today's episode is brought to you by Field and Stream Taxidermy from Heartland, Michigan, specializing in all big game animals and award-winning whitetails. I want to personally thank Mike from Field and Stream Taxidermy for his faith in a product he had not heard yet and believing in me to put out something worthy of his sponsorship. So thank you, Mike. So today, like I said, Black Friday. Hopefully you guys ate enough yesterday at Thanksgiving. As Sheriff would say, hopefully you gobbled till you wobbled. And today, hopefully you came out relatively unscathed if you went somewhere looking for a deal on Black Friday. We are located in Bellevue, Michigan, which is close to Battle Creek. This is our closest big city. We ventured out today for some OSB board for our chicken coop, our new chicken coop, and it was fairly busy. Not as busy as I expected, but busier than I care to be around. So we hurried home after one trip to Lowe's and came back and continued to work on our chicken coop. So this podcast, the beginning, the inaugural episode, if I may, is called Beginnings. Now, do you know why that is, Cheryl?
No idea.
Well, I'm going to tell you. For several reasons. Today, this is obviously the beginning of our podcast series, which would probably be roughly bi-weekly. Beginning, because we're kind of in a new beginning. We've moved, for those of you that don't know, we moved from the greater Lansing area roughly 3 weeks ago, I think, Shares?
Yep.
So it's a new beginning for us there, and it's also the unofficial, official beginning of the Christmas shopping season. You see what I did there? So, but beginnings. Well, a few beginnings we should talk about, and it's going to be an onward, or rather an ongoing thing with this podcast, Beginnings. If for anybody and everybody that comes on this show as a guest, I'm going to ask how did they begin in ag or in Dexter cattle. So, for all of you that may be coming on, take note, be prepared to answer such a question. To start with us, Shares and I both grew up in Detroit suburbs, actually, and neither of us have agriculture background. So we're fairly green to everything ag, let alone livestock. But I think we're learning on the fly. Crash course is the way to go for us. What do you think, Shares? She's nodding her head, yes. So I knew from a young age I didn't want to be in the suburbs of the city, and that I wanted to move to the country and country lifestyle. And just the road kind of took me where it took me, and now we ended up here in Bellevue with our Dexter herd, which is we have a dozen Dexters. How we started that is we have great friends of ours that lived in Grand Ledge, Nicole and Beth McCarthy. Sorry about that. And we have. They breed labs, and we have 4 labs from them. And one of our labs needed surgery for his eyes, and she recommended a vet near Michigan State University in Lansing. So while I was driving around waiting for my dog Murphy to be done with this surgery, I decided that, you know what, it's just time to move. It was, late 30s. And had been in the city since because of life. You know, life just happens. You don't always get to move where you want to move right away. And I called Cheryl and said, Cheryl, I think it's ready just to pull the trigger and move. And I'll be darned if she didn't support the decision and say, let's do it, right?
Always supporting the decision.
Which is exactly why you're here today, and I appreciate that. So, we shop for property. Now, this is not really, actually not at all to have anything to do with Dexters or cows at this point. We simply wanted property out in the country, away from the city, and room for our 4 labs. And I bow hunt, so we wanted some property to bow hunt on. So we found 11 acres with a beautiful house in Mason, Michigan, which is roughly an hour, 20 minutes outside of Detroit. So we moved there, and we were there a few months, and on my trail cameras, we had pictures of coyotes more than deer. So I started trapping and doing predator control, and wanted to start trapping on my next door neighbor's property, who had a mom and pop's sized dairy farm. He did some milking for about 60 head, I believe. Don't you think about 60 head?
And here's Mr. Murphy.
And Murphy busted the door in. I should be noted also that our actual podcast equipment has not arrived yet, so we're working off of iPhones. So the quality and of the format will definitely evolve over the next couple episodes. But that being said, so I went to his place when he was milking one night and asked if he would mind if I hunted coyotes or trapped them on his property. And long story short, he said yes. A friendship formed, and before I knew it, I was there milking twice a day with him most days. So he eventually said, hey, I have these steers. Why don't you guys take them for helping me out? And, I, at this point, knew nothing about cows. I almost know nothing now, but I know a little more than nothing. So we said, sure. We took 3 steers. We put, of our 11 acres, we put about 7 of it into pasture, and lo and behold, we started ranching. Those were 3 Holsteins, and they grew. We grew them, and they grew fine, and very big and a little bit intimidating for people that have never owned livestock, right?
Yes.
So we absolutely love the cows. We fell in love with cows, and we were sold. That was what we were gonna do. We just had to find the correct breed for us. She's nodding yes again. So
We went through a few.
we went through a few breeds. We went with
Highland.
we went with Highland, which I do enjoy the Highland. If we didn't have Dexters, I think we would have Highland. We went through a Jersey, a Hereford. We never got to like a Key Cross or a double muscle like a Key Angus or anything of that nature. Just warned from people that have them that, for inexperienced handlers such as us, it wasn't the way to go. Cheryl, through her vast research that she always does before we go into something, said, hey, what about Dexters? And said this and this and this. They had the attitude, and she read off the characteristics, and I'm like, sure, it sounds great. So we Googled, of course, Dexter breeders in our area, gave them a Goog, came across the Shamrock Acres, to which we have wonderful things to say about the Mitchells and Bo Eves. And we went and visited and picked out a few and brought them home a little while later. The day we picked them up, we also were there, and we got the 4th one because she was born the day we were there, a few days before Thanksgiving, to Daisy. Daisy was born there when we were there, the night before we came. And we were like, oh, she's so cute, we'll take her too. So we ended up with 4 from Shamrock Acres, and we couldn't be happier. We have a tremendous bull, Dublin, and 3 wonderful cows. So from there,
That became our addiction.
yeah, from there, the Dexter cow became our addiction. We love them to death. We're a small breeder by any stretch of the imagination, and we don't have any delusions of grandeur. We keep about a dozen, but we're growing at a slow pace, and a pace that's right for us. We just got our first piece of heavy machinery, a tractor. We'd have been doing everything by 4-wheeler or hand. So we ended up here in Bellevue by realizing we had a talk. We were like, hey, if this is the lifestyle we're going to do and we're going to stick with this ag and the Dexters, we're going to have to do something better for our situation. Our setup was great, but for the few of you that have been to our place in Mason, you understand the trials and tribulations of loading and unloading, calves or cattle down. We had a huge switchback that goes down to a narrow alley next to our pastures there, and it was, we're running 300 feet of water hose and didn't ever put a well in or a hydrant. So it was time. We made the decision, okay, let's look for somewhere better for our setup, and we ended up here in Bellevue with more acreage. Needs some work for sure to get to where we want it to be, but it's a lot better setup. So that's basically how we started with our Dexters, and we're still pretty green. I think we're 5 or 6 years into owning cattle, period. And, we're still learning, and I'm always learning. And this is one of the things that led me to do this. I had this brainchild for a podcast or radio show to further my knowledge. That Dexter cow guy, how that came to be. That's the name of it. It was a pretty simple name. I thought it was funny, so I ran with it. But when we lived in Mason, we were minutes away from Michigan State University Livestock Pavilion. I have some great friends, the Hutchinsons and Warners, that show Key Cross. Tremendously successful at doing it too. They're great people, been a wonderful resource for us. So I would go to all these expos and shows, and and I'm all about Dexter cows. Hey, Dexter this, Dexter that, and they're you kind of get the eyes like, oh boy, this guy's can't afford a real cow, and stuff. And to us, this is the best cow ever. Even so, and we took the ribbing with and gave some ribbing back. It was all in good fun. But I have the habit of walking up to anybody and just starting a conversation and asking questions. It's a blessing and a curse because I sometimes ask dumb questions, I guess. But so eventually I came.
No question is a dumb question.
Well, no question is a dumb question except for some of the ones I've asked. But so eventually they came to know me as that Dexter cow guy. More accurately, it'd probably be like, oh, here comes that Dexter cow guy. But I don't see any reason why Dexter should be treated any different than any of the other breeds. Granted, maybe not if your main income in commercial breeding, maybe it's not the best choice, but for our application and for every application we see no reason why it wouldn't be. So that's how that Dexter cow guy came to be. So that was pretty easy to keep. So what I want to do with this podcast is just gain knowledge and share knowledge it's going to be Dexter based for sure, but I don't think it's going to be only Dexter based. I think it's going to touch base on a lot of different ag aspects. And I want to share info with, for people that are new to ag or even considering an ag business, to people that are 5th, 6th generation, Dexter ranchers or any ranchers. I wanted to make it interesting to a broad audience. But that being said, it can be boring talking about some of that stuff. Let's be honest. People are, somebody doesn't want to hear something one day. I want to just at very least, if I can put a smile on your face at some point in the day and make it entertaining for you, then that's my main goal. So that's kind of where I want to go with this, just using an excuse to go up to people and learn from them. I think they're more apt to talk to me more if I go, hey, do you guys mind interviewing for my podcast? I'm sure a lot of them will, but it doesn't hurt to try. This is something I figured it'd be fun to do for me because I like to talk a lot, and I like to talk to people, and I like to learn, so I can combine all three of these into one deal, one outlet, if I may. So, that being said, I don't really have a time frame for how long each episode's going to be or whatnot. I'd like to shoot, I think, a half hour under is probably most of the time you can get anybody's attention. But, that being said, some different interviews may go longer. And, I have plans to go to the Ohio Valley Dexter show this year and see if I can't grab anybody that'll talk to me. And maybe even get a booth there and live stream. So, if you're listening to this, I appreciate your time and tuning in and checking this out, that's for sure. And I'm very interested in topics or subjects you'd like me to touch base on. I know what I want to know, and I'm planning on doing that, but the ag world is vast. So anything that you guys want, I'd be happy to do the research and go talk to people to get answers for you for anything. I know upcoming, for sure, we have a flower farmer from Leelanau Specialty Cut Flowers coming up for an interview. I'm actually going to go there on location and give me an excuse to go up to Leelanau, which I love. And I believe Emily Boeve is going to interview with me, which would be great because she opened the meat market there, and I'd love to broadcast and talk to her and get her name out there. If at any time we can support a local farmer, small farm shop, that's what we'd like to do. And the show, I guess we'll go into the projects and stuff that go on here with our 4 labs. I think that at any time, a camera crew could walk on here and make a reality show out of what goes on our farm. You can't write the stuff. So, hopefully it's entertaining for you guys. That being said, Cheryl, should we tell them how we got started? You and me? I think we should. Cheryl and I met. Her cousin was dating my lifelong friend, a kid I grew up with, was riding dirt bikes and going up north and hunting and all that stuff with. And they had a baby, or having a baby, and they decided to have a diaper party. And I think there was a little bit of playing Cupid there with your cousin Jen. Shares? You think?
I don't know.
But so Cheryl shows up with her boyfriend.
Ex-boyfriend.
There's a joke there because I think they were together and she says they weren't. And I just fell in love with her smile from the first time I saw her. So, and then I knew I had her after our first date. I tell them about our first date, Shares. No, she's shy. Our first date, she's from a richier part of town than I was, so I thought I was, and I still think that I'm a guy dating and married out of my league with her. So we go do the bar thing and have dinner, and then we meet with her cousin and my buddy for drinks after, in case Cheryl wanted to get out, that was her out. And then we did all that. So we're riding home, I'm driving her home, and about 3 a.m, I think. And I'm talking almost 20 years ago.
Not funny.
So I have a 94 Ranger at the time, 4-wheel drive. And it's about 3 a.m, I'm driving her home, and out of nowhere, and this main road down in Westland, the front driver's tire of my Ranger flies off, goes bouncing away down the road. So I'm laughing because it was literally like the movies where the sparks are flying up by the windows and you're just watching your tire go down the road. Cheryl's screaming at me, squeezing my arm like the plane's going down. And that was the end of our night. So no matter what I had planned in our end game, that was it. That's how it ended. And when she accepted my call the next day, I knew that I had someone special. She might regret that still, but but here she is, almost going on, 16 years?
Almost.
Mm-hmm. So an endless adventures since. There's never a dull moment.
Nope.
We wish there was a lot of times, but there never is. So again, I'll wrap this one up, and I hope you guys tune in and subscribe to what we have to offer. We'd love to talk to anybody, on air or not on air. I mean, if you guys want to be interviewed, for sure we'll find a way via phone, or I'll come to you guys, or we can meet somewhere. Give us a call, or actually not a call. You can find us on Facebook at Farron Farms. That is the name of our farm, Farron Farms, Dexter Cattle. Or you guys set up an email for this at thatdexterguy@gmail.com. Hit me up. Let me know what you think of today. Constructive criticism is welcome. Unconstructive criticism is also welcome. Just like to hear from you, see what you guys had to say. And show ideas, or hey, I want to be on your list thing and talk about this, or I want to know more about this. Can you look into it? And I'll be glad to help any way I can. So thank you very much for your time and tuning in tonight. And I'll get back and to you guys in a couple weeks. You have anything to say, Shares?
Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.